We're back online, Sheila. Very good, thank you. Then welcome back. During closed session, reporting back from closed session, reviewed the minutes of the April 4th closed session meeting and discussed one matter regarding the personal matters about an identifiable individual in labor relations or employee negotiations respecting a municipal position, and direction was provided to staff. All right, thank you. That's it for closed session. Down to number 8 on the agenda. Adoption of the minutes of the regular council meeting held on May 2nd. We have a motion to accept those. Deputy Mayor Hutchison, second by Councillor Forrester. Any questions, errors, or omissions in the minutes? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. There's also minutes of the public meeting held on May 2nd, 2023 as well too, on page 19 of the package. Do we have a mover for that? Moved by Councillor Hutchison, seconded by Councillor Forrester. Thank you. Any errors or omissions? Questions on those minutes? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Committee and board reports. Time of the agenda, there was none. Correspondence. We have a number of correspondence here that need action or require attention of council. Ayton baseball tournament. Jessica Farquharson is looking for support of that as an annual basis ball tournament. You're still entering a team, are you, Deputy Mayor, to be winners again?
We were runners up on Sunday after 4 games in the heat. The Davis family did take it, so no. And I will be putting a team in, absolutely.
Nameless promotion. Yep. One of these years you'll get back at them. Anyway, she's looking for this to be a significant event. Do you have a motion there, Jamie? I'll let you read it and then we'll move it.
Through you, Mayor Eccles, yes, I do. I have that in consideration of correspondence dated April 25th, 2023 from Jessica Farquharson respecting a request for a designation of municipal significance for the Ayton baseball tournament taking place from July 28th to 30th, 2023. Council declares the Ayton baseball tournament to be of municipal significance.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Hutchison, seconded by Councillor Townsend. Any further questions or comments on the motion? Councillor Hutchison. Doug?
So since we classified it as a significant event through the municipality, I presume that they're covered under our insurance in terms of liabilities. So then is it suggested that this individual uses what's the new insurance program called? Dual. So are they expected to, is she expected to use Dual, or presumably they have their own insurance to run this event? So I'm just curious about the insurance.
I'm going to go to Cody. Mr. Hewitt is on. You got any comments on that question there, Cody?
Yes, through you, and thank you for the question, Councillor. With us declaring a event as municipally significant, there would be no, they wouldn't be going under our municipal insurance. The event organizer would still be required to organize their own insurance. With Duo, they are just a partner of us. Nobody is required to go with Duo. Renters are just required to provide proof of insurance.
Okay. Councillor Noon. Joyce?
In researching Duo, they won't support the event with alcohol, but I know the organizers will be getting their own personal insurance through their own insurance agencies.
Okay. That's good. All right. Any other questions or comments on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. Next one, interesting. Municipality of Grey Highlands has the motion to at their last council meeting, or one of their last council meetings, on the multiple municipal long-term care working group capacity expansion. How would we like to deal with this? Deputy Mayor Hutchison.
Thank you, Mayor Eccles, and there's some issues around this. Like I fully support maintaining Grey Gables as a county asset, which has been endorsed by the council in Owen Sound. One of the issues I have here is that the Grey County Council has put any further development of Grey Gables on hold. And that's based around the financial implications of what we're doing with the Rockwood redevelopment. And that's where we all landed at. So I'm having a hard time supporting any of this right now for it to move forward. We need to get the full cost down and the redevelopment of Rockwood done first. And that's where we left it at County Council, at which time, once we know the actual financial costs of that, then we could go back and entertain reviewing this. But I can tell you right now, Grey County, if we were to support this and start pushing the consideration of future development, the financial impact is not a beneficial thing for any of the municipalities or towns, excuse me, that are part of Grey County. So I think to receive the report is as far as I would like to go with this. I can't endorse supporting it until, again, we get Rockwood, the numbers with Rockwood and the development of that underway. Then we'll know exactly where we stand and whether or not we can move forward with any development at Grey Gables. Thank you.
Councillor Hutchison.
Yeah, I sort of agree what Deputy Mayor is saying there. I have a problem in terms of this group. If they organize and push for the 128 beds, they don't have a willing partner in terms of the county. The county's already made a decision to not move ahead with this. So I think it looks sort of silly in some ways if they're going to the ministry and say we want it, but yet the people with the purse strings of the county are saying, no, we don't want it at this time. Right. So I think it's a bit of a you're getting the cart before the horse sort of thing, I think is what's happening. So I agree. I'd like to see it happen too, but I think at this time, because we're in the redevelopment phase with Rockwood, that it's maybe a little bit early before we start pursuing more beds when we're just going through a rebuilding. So I think it does put the county in a sort of a dicey situation with this group trying to promote something that they've said no to. I guess that's the way you get action, but I just think it's not, maybe the timing's not right. Thank you.
Councillor Noon, Joyce?
No, thank you. Does the county council have a projected a 10-year plan that they would kind of look at fitting this into their budgets, future budgets, or is it just kind of on a come needed basis?
I'm going to let the deputy mayor speak to that as he sits on the long-term care committee.
Thank you, Mayor Eccles, and through you to Councillor Noon. Where it's at is because of the cost of the Rockwood redevelopment going when we're moving along, it was 140 million. You could see that we had to cut that back. It's been back to 92 million, I believe, was our number we landed at. So until we actually have the actual cost and that under control, there is no future of Grey Gables other than maintaining it at this time through the council as an asset, a county asset. So no, we can't project that. We don't know. Again, if we take on 92 million for the Rockwood redevelopment, which is obviously the plans are well advanced and moving along, and we took on hypothetically another 50 million, the financial implications that are going to roll down through all of the participating members, it's going to put us in a very tough position. And we all know that with the blended rates, basically the conversation was, we're probably going to see another 50, 60 would put us at probably 7 to 8% up at the county. So there's no, as far as that goes, it's not in our vision in the future. We have to just wait and see. Let's get this one done is what's basically the message from council up there, and then we can reevaluate. And I think Mayor Eccles would certainly, he may be able to support what I was saying there, but I don't think we left much more open on the Great Gables development.
And I find it maybe just as a little extension onto that is mover and a seconder from Grey Highlands both happen to be county council members that quite possibly when the Grey Gables expansion came up and whatnot, the vote was lost. And I look at this as being no different than at this council table, and the democratic process itself is that, yeah, sometimes you defer, but it's the majority that moves forward. And an individual told me, a very respected politician told me a long time ago that, yeah, sometimes you'll win, sometimes you'll lose votes, but the majority rules. And if you can't support it, just be quiet and let it move along. That's how progress is made. This again is that two have lost and now they want to start a group to fight against what the motion was. And my advice to council here is that we receive this information and take no further action at this time. Councillor Townsend. Doug?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question, I guess, from a county level, are we, I still feel we should be saying to the provincial government that we'd like to have more beds, like Grey County's open, as long as they're bringing a dump truck load of money up from Queen's Park to pay for it. It shouldn't be on the taxpayers of Grey County. Like they're, as I say, letting them know that we're a willing host for more beds, but financially they've got to do the backing on it.
Comment on that, Deputy Mayor Tom?
Thank you, Mayor Eccles, and through to Councillor Townsend. Yes, it's not so much letting them know that we're still interested. What we have to do, we did have those beds we did put through, we were awarded. It's just a matter of the financial. We are not in a position, all of Grey County right now, to take on any more debt. So as far as the beds, one of the stipulations, and I believe it was August, you had to be shovel ready. August, it may have been July, but anyways, it was July or August. You had to be shovel ready to get the funding, the last funding module come through. There's all kinds of municipalities that were in the queue, but nobody would be shovel ready. So those beds, all the beds that were to come on to the 2023, there's no way they're going to be fulfilled. So as part of the long-term care commitment through the provincial government, the beds are going to roll into 2024. So, and they'll go beyond that because of our aging population. So I don't think that we're pressured to have to get into the queue for that. I think the focus right now that we all need to do is the development of Rockwood. That is the primary one. We have the funding. We have the land. We are ready. We're shovel ready. We're very close to shovel ready. I know they're moving earth now. And I think that's the focus we need to do. As far as other, the development of Rockwood for any other activity over there, and maybe we could find some extra revenues over there is something we could consider. But we do have we got the village, we've got a couple of different options over at Rockwood that we need to consider as well. I think Grey Gables as it sits is it is a county asset. That was really what the big objective was way back when 5 years ago. And I think that's been accomplished. And I think we need to, again, focus on one major project at a time. And I think we only have the staff resources to do that as well. So I don't think the beds will be lost. They will always be there. Thank you.
Okay, anything further? How would you like to deal with this then? Jamie, you've not a response?
Through you, Mayor, yes, I think what I've taken from the conversation is that you're looking for a motion to receive. So if that's the case, I have something crafted that in consideration of correspondence received from the municipality of Grey Highlands dated May 3rd, 2023, respecting multi-municipal long-term care working group capacity expansion terms of reference, council receives the correspondence for information purposes.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Hutchison, seconded. Councillor Noon. Thank you, Joyce. Call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. All right. Durham BIA Farmers Market Proposal. What do we have on this? Councillor Hutchison?
Yeah, I'd like to speak to that. So the Durham BIA is promoting a farmer's market. They have some new people in town, new business, and they're very keen to get this going. So they're looking at a Friday afternoon using the municipal parking lot, Riverside behind Credit Union, running from 1 to 6, I think it was, time-wise. We've, over the years that I've been on council, we've talked about farmers market. We've had some variations of different farmers markets come into town, people trying to run it. Nothing's really lasted. But this lady that's pushing this through the BIA, support of the BIA, is hoping to run it from June right through to September, every Friday afternoon. So we'll see how it goes. She's looking at possibly 10 booths. I think she has some experience in this area, and she has some friends that are involved with the Hanover one. They have a farmer's market there. So I think she has a good background to make this happen. So I guess what they're really asking is, can they use the municipal parking lot? I think I see it as being maybe half of the parking lot. And given that we do have Music in the Park that uses the municipal parking lot Sunday afternoons and Sunday evenings, and then we now have a group that's starting up on Friday nights. I think there's 3 sessions called it's sort of like a jam session, Music in the Park. It's a sort of a breakout group from the original group. There will be lots of things going on there, and we're looking at maybe bringing in some barricades so that they can use the barricades to barricade off part of the municipal parking there. And then it would be there for the Music in the Park group too, because they get quite a crowd in there, and some people like to get fairly close to the stage. So maybe the barricades aren't a bad idea. I always suggest that we put some big stones in there, just because sometimes some of our seniors have difficulty driving, and I would want to see an accident. So by keeping them back a little bit isn't a bad idea. Just thinking ahead, I'm not sure barricades are the answer. I think the stones are the better suggestion. But anyways, I hope that council will support it. I think it's a great opportunity for the town. They'll be looking at some kind of signage, which they'll have to look at in terms of try to draw public off Main Street in through onto Queen Street and to get there. But anyways, I think it's a great opportunity. I hope the council will support it.
Okay. Deputy Mayor.
Just a question through you, Mayor, it goes to Councillor Hutchinson. I know that we'd had this in the past, Councillor Hutchinson. Was it on a Friday or a Saturday? Do you recall when they tried to do that?
I don't know. There's some variation. There was a gentleman that used West End Motors at one time and set up in front there. And I can't remember exactly. I think he was there for the weekend or something. Like it was more than just one evening, I thought. Yeah, because he had quite a setup. And then I think we had it in the municipal parking lot at one time too, but I don't know the detail. I can't remember how that worked, but never seemed to last. And this one, I think there's potential to make it last. At least hopefully we can give it a try. Anyways.
Yeah, and I appreciate the response. I guess when I looked at it, I was more curious about Saturday. I did read the segue obviously into the Friday night music, but I just wondered if maybe Saturday was a better option, because it seems to be there's a tremendous amount of people obviously working on Friday, and I don't know if that was part of I don't remember the old one, whether it was on a Friday, but it was all weekend. So I'll certainly support any activity going on in our downtown course. Thank you.
Councillor Townsend, Doug?
Thank you. In full support of this, I think it's a great idea. It's something that I know it's been talked about, and hopefully it'll go over. I'm thinking Friday is actually probably a good time for it, because you're going to get the people heading up to their cottages and heading up through Highway 6. You're going to get the tourist traffic, so hopefully that all pans out. I guess one question I have: we have a lot of farm gate retailers within West Gray. Are they going to put something out and reach out to these people to try and attract them to come in and congregate and make it more viable? And I mean, it's something that if it gets off the ground, it's an economic development thing. To me, I could see a spinoff and do a Saturday in Newstead then, or something like that, and get some of, like, move it around a bit too, if we could do a Friday and a Saturday. But then, as I say, this is strictly BIA's organizing this one, so it's in Durham, which is fantastic. But I'm in full support. I think it's a great thing to do, and as I say, fully support it.
Yeah, I think that was the thinking, that the Friday afternoon, you catch the commuters going through town, sort of thing. And I think that was the idea. Saturday could work too. I'm sure there's lots of people around on Saturdays, but the lady that's behind it runs Ewan's, the little ice cream shop downtown. And they have small property in the area that they sort of self-sustained, sort of small micro farmers. And we seem to have quite a few of those. And they have an organization or a group that they're involved with that does a lot of small farm growing and that type of thing. So they're planning on using very much local, is my understanding, which is great. And as far as the Newstead, I remember a few years ago when I was involved in the Newstead businesses, they talked about a farmer's market and trying to get things going. And I don't think it ever really got off the ground, other than the brewery does sell corn outside their building, right? But there's potential there for sure. There's lots of small farms that would love the opportunity to sell their produce. So anyways, yeah, I think it's a step in the right direction. So hopefully we can make it happen.
I've got one question. Moving barriers and whatnot in and eliminating some of the parking. Do we have public works staff? That would be the municipal contribution to this. Doug, is what I'm looking at.
Well, we did have a conversation with staff through another group that was talking about gardens and whatnot, and I sort of foresee it as there's some barricades there that this group can, if the public works drops them off. I think what we were talking about, they dropped off Thursday night, say, or whatever, that the barricades could be put up by this group themselves, put them where they want their space to be created, because we do have people that park there, sometimes park there longer than they need to, and sometimes we even have a bus park there, and the odd truck every once appears and so on. So by barricading it off a little bit early might help keep people out of certain areas that they want to use. But I foresee it as the organizer doing the barricades, and then when they're done, they take them down, put them off the side, and then the music in the park could use some of them. And then I think the idea, and maybe Laura wants to speak to this, but maybe Public Works could pick up barricades Monday morning, take them away for the week, and then bring them back on Thursday night or Friday morning. Yeah, or maybe there's a place to store them or something. I don't know. I haven't got all that detail worked out yet, but maybe staff has some suggestions.
This isn't running, but I can hear it here.
Yeah, we through your worship, we can have staff available to put to pick the barricades up and drop them off. It's not a concern. It's just, I guess, if that would be a contribution to or if we're doing it on our own, I guess that's up to council.
Afternoon, Joyce.
Well, thank you. And this is directed to Councillor Hutchinson again. Signage, now, would you have to get approval? Like, of course, you want to draw people to the parking lot. So would there be signage like just coming into the Durham limits? But do we have to get approval from the county to put those? Like, would they just be like those? Yeah, thank you. Or like even at the intersections there, like, and the other thing was media. Would the municipality be able to help with enhancing, getting it on our website, or would you be putting it in local papers just to get the word out there and also get the word out to our local farming people that, you know, if they want to participate in it? I'm sure you probably looked after all these things, but it was just a question, especially with regarding the signage.
Well, the answer is because I'm not the organizer, but it's because I'm the council rep on the BIA. The BIA is supporting it. BIA has given this lady a budget to work with. So signage was one of the things that she talked about. I'm not sure what that looks like, but maybe that's worth having a discussion with staff in terms of, yes, they'd have to put something on Highway 6, which again is a provincial highway, not a, right? But I don't think it's going to be permanent. It would be something that would maybe take up and down. I don't know what that looks like for sure. And this lady has been involved in a lot of media stuff in the past, so I think she has background. So that's something I can take back and ask her to talk to Wes Gray about signage, what it looks like, where it's going to go. And what was another point there? I forgot what it was. Media, right. So I think that's, yeah, she's well informed in that area. So I think because she does have a bit of a budget to work with, that they're going to promote it through the BIA plus extra stuff. So, and you know, I'm a hope maybe we can get it onto our website eventually as a, you know, an activity sort of thing for ongoing. So, yeah, but I can reach out with the signage.
Adam CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So Councilor Noon, thanks for the question. We would be happy to share their messages and any photos that they send to us regarding the barricades. I mean, the hours of the proposal are during working hours for the drop off anyway, so that I don't see as Mr. Shipwreck said, I don't see that as you know, an additional burden for public works staff, and leaving the barricades there for the next group to use. I think that would be a very convenient thing. We can pick them up then on Monday morning, so they're out of the way till Friday morning. So I'm pleased with the times that they're proposing. It'll work into operations very nicely.
And I think if I could, just one further comment on Highway 6 inside the town limits, it's a connecting link. So the municipality has control over that. Yes, Highway 4 or Bruce Street or Highway 4 is still under the county, but there's work on the county right at the present moment talking about making those the same as the MTO connecting links through municipalities to cut red tape, I believe is what the focus on that is, that municipalities then could look after those county roads coming through as well too. But for sandwich boards, I don't see there being a huge issue with that either way anyways. Councillor Townsend, Doug?
Just a quick comment, I guess, when they're setting up in the parking lot there, they'll have to take into consideration the vast amount of people lined up to use the EV charger there to not interfere with that. Yes.
Can I respond?
If you would like, sure. Go ahead.
I think
You have to.
potentially, I think they're going to use the north end of the parking lot and leave the charging stations available. We do get some people parked there that don't have electric vehicles in front of them, though. It's curious how that works, but anyways, it's just maybe a message we need to get out there.
Okay. Discussion, I think we're looking for kind of get the feeling here, Jamie, if you got a motion.
Certainly, and through Mayor Eccles, I have that in consideration of correspondence received from the Durham Business Improvement Area dated May 8th, 2023, respecting a proposed Durham Farmers Market. Council approves the use of the parking lot located south of the Northern Credit Union every Friday from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. starting June 16th and running to October 13th, and direct staff to provide the Durham Business Improvement Area access to barricades to section off the farmers market for vendor parking.
Mover for that? Councillor Townsend and Councillor Noon. Thank you. Moved and seconded. Any further comments on the motion? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. 10.1.4 brings us down to the Royal Canadian Branch 308 Legion. Durham, request for additional banners. I take it this is for the veterans banners. I'm reading it there. Any questions or comments? Or what is Councillor Hutchison? Sorry, Deputy Mayor Hutchison.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Mayor Eccles.
It'll happen. It'll happen a few more times. through the
I'm all
years.
good with that. Well, we got a long ways to go, so. The only thing I would have, and I'm not sure if this would go to Mr. Hewlett or not, is the brackets. Do we have spare brackets? I believe we may in Aiden, because I don't think we're maxed out there. It's more in Durham. I think Durham might have been at capacity. So absolutely support this 100%. But I believe if we're short brackets, then we're going to need to know the financials behind that. So it's just a question. I don't know if Madam CEO or Mr. Hook could answer it.
Whom I see Cody is on. Mr. Hewitt.
Thank you for the question, and through you. Currently in both Durham and Ayton, we have maxed the pre-approved banners from council. If council were to approve this initiative, there's basically two options. Either we could expand the banner program in purchasing new banner bracket arms, which in correspondence to the Legion, they have agreed to pay the cost for that. Or council could approve, I'll say, removal of West Gray based banners to install the Legion based banners. Currently, we have 14 Legion banners that we install in Durham and 7 in Ayton. The proposed request is for an additional 6 banners in Durham and 3 in Ayton.
Thank you. So just so I'm clear, Mr. Hook, I believe I was reading this, that you're saying the Legion would support purchasing the new brackets? I just want to be clear on that's what I heard, please.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Okay. And is there thoughts of expanding this into Newstead and Elmwood as well? Or did I just hear that over coffee someplace? Or as it be, myself would be tea. Cody.
If I may, through you, currently council has approved the ability to expand the Veterans Banner Program into Newstead and Elmwood. However, there has not been interest from those communities. So if the opportunity presented itself, we would be able to expand it to those communities.
Okay. Still working on that. Councillor Hutchison. Doug?
Yeah, just to clarify too, the new banners themselves are usually the cost is borne by the family that wants to put the banner up. Is that correct?
That's my understanding as well.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Just a point of clarification to Cody, if I can. Did you say we have enough space if we take down West Gray banners, like so we don't need additional arms and stuff? We just have to take down more of our standard West Gray banners to make room for these ones. Is that the way? That the way I understood you?
Through you, that is correct. So currently in Durham, we have a total of 24 banners that we hang. Ayton, we have 12, 24 as well in Newstead, and then 10 in Elmwood. So if we were to remove more of the West Gray banners, we could potentially support up to those previously stated numbers. However, that would mean us not hanging our standard banners.
Tom?
So, Mr. Hewlett, is there room to add more brackets? I guess is another, instead of taking away from what we've done here with our own banner, is there more poles that we can attach to without going into that?
Through you, as basically as long as there's a hydro pole, we can get a banner mounted on it.
Right, but are they all utilized now? I don't believe they were. I think we were alternating or whatever. I try to keep my eyes on the road when I'm driving through, but anyways, so I would certainly support this. Again, it doesn't appear to be any financial complication or impact to the municipality, so I would move that we would endorse this, but as long as I know, I'm clear that there's no cost in it.
Okay, Jamie, or Cody, you have further comment? Mr. Hewlett?
Through you into your question, Deputy Mayor, we would be able to expand basically the region in which we hang the banners. It would be expanding a little bit within the downtown core and a little bit outside of it, just based on how many banners the Legion wanted to hang. The only cost bearing of the municipality is we currently eat the cost of our contractors to hang and remove the banners as well as the brackets.
So but that's not, $1,000, $1,500, $2,000. They're up for that month and that's it. So do we have a rough number on that?
They are up for the month to hang the banners, depending on how many we're doing at a time. If we're looking at switching out the whole set in one go, it's typically between $4,000 to $6,000.
But in saying that, it's price of what we do. Councillor Noon.
Correct me if I'm wrong, did we not increase the budget by $4,000 to accommodate the banner switching from municipal to the Legions? But if we're increasing more banners, are you saying that 4,000 really doesn't help cover the costs?
Through you, Councillor Noon, you are correct. We did increase the budget. Right now, I would assume that budget should be sufficient for the incremental increase that they're looking at for this year. I would have a better idea when we get to the end of the year.
Okay, if you're gonna, I think we good discussion. We're probably at a spot where we could introduce a motion for this. Jamie.
Through Mayor Eccles and Deputy Mayor Hutchinson, correct me if I'm wrong, I have that in consideration of correspondence received from Royal Canadian Legion Branch 308 respecting Durham, respecting additional banners for the banner program. Council will direct staff to install additional brackets supplied by the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 308 Durham in Durham and Ayton for the installation of additional Legion banners.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Seconder for that? Councillor Forrester. Scott, any further questions or comments on this? All those in favor? Any opposed? That one is carried. West Grace Soccer Club. Final piece of correspondence needing attention. Soccer Club is asking us, asking the municipality for a donation to do field maintenance. Or a grant to do that. Would like to speak to that. Deputy Mayor Hutchison. Not Deputy Mayor Hutchison. You're pointing that way. You're pointing to Councillor Hutchison.
I was.
Yeah.
That's a Hutchinson.
Yeah, it's a Hutchison. Doug.
Yeah, so this is another one that, and we're probably going to get more requests like this, but this request came in actually before our last meeting when we delegated our funds, but it didn't get onto the agenda. Traditionally, we've been awarded them $1,500, the soccer club, to help with field maintenance because they do all of their own maintenance and run the club on their own. It's not similar to the ball rents our facilities to do their program. So they have a lot of kids in soccer, and I'd like to see us support it, but I'm not sure where we get the funds from it. I think our director of finance said that we do support in terms of water and sewer. We use municipal water to fill their tanks and water the fields at times, and the sewer charge. So we do support that way. But traditionally, we've given the soccer club $1,500 to help to cover getting the fields cut and maintain the fields and so on. So unfortunately, I don't know how we go about doing this, but it would be nice if we could support them, but I'll leave that up to other people to discuss.
Comments, Councillor Noon.
I too am aware that the municipality helps compensate their water and sewer charges. They're also like using municipal property that they were kind of granted for the use of their soccer club. To my understanding, they also, if they rent their facilities out, they generated income to help offset costs too. But unfortunately, I think they missed the boat this year on the grants and part of it. So I don't know. I think for now to table it, I don't know if I'd be willing to issue $1,500 towards it. Maybe there's other fundraising ideas that they could come up with to help offset those costs as well. Thank you.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Tom.
Through you, Councillor Noon, are you looking to present a motion to table or a motion to receive the correspondence?
I want to receive the correspondence.
Okay. I'll take that as a motion to receive. In that, is there any direction? I think it's to go back. I'll let maybe Councillor Hutchison respond back to that. Councillor Noon.
I guess the bylaw coming up later in the meeting would kind of address their timelines to get in request for funding could be dealt with then. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Councillor Noon's made to receive. Do I have a seconder for that? Deputy Mayor Tom, comments on the motion? Councillor Hutchison. Doug?
Yeah, I think by getting this bylaw in place or policy that we have regarding funds, donations to organizations, hopefully we'll clear it up, because as previous years, we always had people coming in. We're still going to probably get people come to us and say, we'd like donation for this or that. And then we usually try to make a decision and so on. So, and people not knowing that they have to have it in by a certain timeline creates that problem, right? So I think if we can get it out there that this is the date, get your request in, and then we'll look at them all. Otherwise, it's sort of dribs and drabs, and then we make a decision. So being that we've blown our budget on this, our hands are tied, that we can't go anywhere with it. So, but yeah, I think coming forward next year, hopefully we look at them all at the same time, and maybe make some changes in terms of hospitals, which is the other thing that we talked about. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Tom.
Just a quick question. I have in the back of my mind, I think I got notes on it, that I believe staff last year, the year before, had reached out to any of our past recipients of grants to organizations of what we were going to be doing. And I don't know if Madam CEO would have that, but I think we did send out notification on what we were going to be doing. So whether they all received it or I don't know if that happened, Madam CEO.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I know our treasurer's online. Perhaps we could go to her, because I'm not clear that we did that. We typically leave it for them to be reaching out to us.
And I see Carrie this morning, smiling face. Thank you. Thanks for joining us, Carrie. If you heard that question, you have a response, please.
Yeah, we hadn't sent any formal letters out to organizations. We were still waiting for the policy to get formalized, because we didn't have a drop dead date. as to when organizations could submit their requests based on the existing past practice.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Shea. Jeff?
Thank you. So existing past practice, I thought we suspended grants to organizations during COVID and maybe didn't do grants to organizations for 2 years. Did I get that right, Director Mighton?
Carrie?
There was a lot of organizations that didn't operate, but we did still, I'm just looking back, 2020, we had the hospital foundation that we contributed, the Durham Hospital Foundation, I should say, that we contributed to. And in 2021, there was the soccer club and the Newstead Normanby Carrick Agricultural Society, in addition to the hospital. But those were the only two organizations that had made requests during those years, or three organizations, I should say, in 2021 that had made requests. A lot of them had shut down or ceased operations during COVID.
And I think I recall that the soccer club did cease to operate, but said that they needed to maintain the fields anyway, even if they weren't operating. And so that's why we supported them in that. So this seems to have been the relationship that we have. We have different relationships with a lot of our sports organizations, and I don't know what we do with Newstat Soccer. I think we provide them the field, but I don't think there's any money involved in that. But we probably maintain it. We probably cut the grass and everything. In any case, my point is we have different relationships with many of the different sports organizations in our community. And the relationship that we have traditionally had with the soccer club is that they maintain the field and that we support them financially towards that. So I would like to see us continue to maintain that relationship, unless we negotiate something different. And the fact that we haven't had a policy in place and that we suspended grants to organizations for a couple of years made it sort of confusing for everyone. We're on the verge of having everything normalized, and it'll be clear going forward in the future. But at this point in time, we're sort of catching up as we're straightening out this whole grants to organizations thing. So I'd like to see us perhaps provide them with, if since we have exceeded the budget, maybe we could offer them half of what they're requesting, $750, and they would be responsible for fundraising the rest. So there's a motion to receive. So I don't know, Clerk, if there's any way to amend that to award them half of what they're requesting.
Through Mayor to members of council, I guess there's two ways that we could go about this. We could dispose of the motion to receive, and then council could introduce a subsequent motion on the matter. Councillor Shea, like you had suggested, $750, or we could withdraw the current motion. I think the cleanest way of going about it would be to either withdraw or dispose of the motion on the table at the moment rather than amending it.
Okay, we have the motion to receive. We would need the mover and seconder to withdraw. Correct on procedure. Okay.
Through you, that is correct. Disposing of the motion, though, it wouldn't handcuff anybody to not making a subsequent motion. So receiving it, that would be dealt with. If nothing else came of it, at least that motion would be received. So council wouldn't have to circle back and do that again. So there's no harm in doing a vote to receive the correspondence.
Very good. Before we take the vote, I'd just like from the chair to say, we set a budget at the start of the year and ask staff to be very vigilant and follow the budget. Council has very little discretionary attitude with budgets, but the one on grants to organizations, which we dealt with 2 weeks ago, and it was stated very clearly that with the grants that we were giving out, that budget had now been exasperated, completed, totally spent. And that possibly other organizations may be coming forward and there would be nothing there for that and how we were going to deal with it. But council of the day, and I just like to warn council that that was the budget, you've spent it. I can't see how that's going to be received well, that we're overspending. And I believe the municipal act says we have to come in with a balanced budget every year, that we can't operate on deficits. So this might be a good example of that. Take that into account and take the vote on whether to receive this or not. So, any other comments? Deputy Mayor Hutchison Tom.
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. And to follow up with that, it's a good segue into what's on my mind is by going outside of what the budget, the allocated numbers we had, by considering this one, how many more are sitting that will be coming at us? This is going to, it's setting up. I know there's a couple other ones out there. I've just kind of heard through the rumblings, but I think the budget's the budget. We made that decision. I did make a statement that we should be looking at some kind of holding back, but that's not what we did. This council did made a decision and we don't have any funds. So I'm not prepared to go outside of the budget that we were allocated for this specific line. Thank you.
Okay. Comments? One more. Councillor Townsend.
Thank you. No, I fully agree with Deputy Mayor Hutchinson. We have to draw a line in the sand. We have to follow our budget. And if we need more funds in that pot next year, then we'll have to look at that at budget time. And by having everybody apply ahead of time, we'll have a better idea of what we need, because if we do it for one here for the soccer club, as Deputy Mayor's alluded to, there's going to be how many more following behind that. So thank you.
Okay. Let's think further comments. I'll call the question. All those in favor to receive? Any opposed? That is carried. All right. 10.2 correspondence received to receive for information. There's a number in there. Councillor Noon.
Well, thank you. I would like to pull 1 and 2 regarding the insurance costs. I initially wanted to pull the Enbridge charges, but according to Enbridge, they are following up with investigating how it's being looked at. So I'm going to withdraw that. I think we'll just leave it lie that hopefully they'll be able to resolve this without raising those fees to third parties. But I also want to pull number 11, supporting the school bus stop arm cameras. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Councillor Hutchison.
Number 3. I think it was in our last. Number 3, I believe it was in our last meeting minutes, and I asked about some staff involvement on that one, and yet it's in here again. So I'm not sure where we go about it. I'd asked about getting a staff report on staff comments to the ministries asking for comments. So we pulled it. I made a mention of it, but now it's in here again. So I don't know. You know, if we're going to pull it, then what shouldn't we respond to it or do something with it? Like, where do we go from here?
Mr. Clerk.
Through your mayor to members of council, the reason why this correspondence is included in this package is because at the last meeting, council's direction was to defer it to this meeting and include it in this information package. So that's why you're seeing it here again.
So if we pull it this time, we can actually make an action or something, or we can respond to it this time. Okay, okay. All right.
Okay. Counselor Shay.
Yes, item number 12 seems like it requires a response or attention, so I feel like we should discuss that one.
Okay. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 11, and 12. You want to pull? Okay, anything else? Then we will have a motion to receive. Or are we going to discuss these ones and then see if anything else gets pulled before we end up discussing? Go
This
ahead.
is through you, Mayor Eccles. I think it might be cleaner just to address each of these pieces of correspondence one by one. That way, if the discussion leads to no action being taken on one of these items, then it would be captured in that motion to receive at the end.
Okay. All right. We're at 10:30. We've been here for an hour and a half. The deputy mayor has left us. Do you want to take a 5-minute break? All right, we'll take 9 minutes then. 10:45. Please return. Thank you, everybody out there. Give us a few minutes. Well, we've got quorum, so we're going to call it back to order. Call the meeting back to order. Thank you, everybody out there for waiting on us. Correspondence, Councillor Noon has asked correspondence 1 and 2. Both of them dealing with, I think we can probably deal with them both at the same. They're dealing with municipal insurance. Do you want to speak any further to it there, Councillor Noon? Go ahead, Joyce.
Yes, I feel that this is pretty significant with trying to look after our budgets. So if there's any way that municipalities can get together and get these reduced, would be wonderful. So I have reached out to Clerk Eckensweiler regarding this, and he had prepared a motion for them. Thank you.
Thank you. And through your miracles, what I have crafted is that in consideration of correspondence received from the City of Owen Sound and the Township of Carlow Mayo respecting support of Municipality of Chatham-Kent's resolution respecting reducing municipal insurance costs, Council supports the resolution and directs staff to send a letter of support to the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, Minister of Finance Peter Bethlenfalvy, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing Steve Clark, Attorney General Doug Downey, MPP for Bruce Grey Owen Sound Rick Byers, Premier Doug Ford, and MPP Merritt Stiles, leader of the Ontario New Democratic Party and leader of the opposition.
Okay. Thank you, Joyce. Need a seconder for that. Deputy Mayor Hutchison. Thank you, Tom. Any further comments or questions about this? Councillor Hutchison.
I'm just curious. We've had this discussion before about insurance costs and whatnot. Have we not supported a resolution in the past that on this? I'm surprised if we haven't, because it's come up a number of times. I'm just wondering, any way we can find out if we've done that before? Because it doesn't hurt to support it again, but I mean, I think we have done something in the past.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor, we can certainly go through the past resolutions to see what we've done. I do recall that we had submitted a couple of delegation requests at AMO and Roma to speak to this, and neither of those were approved either. So we have been trying, but you're right. There's no harm in sending another supporting letter.
Okay, anything further? Just hope that we don't get back into being self-insured or running our own insurance company like Omex. A number of years ago, it cost a lot of municipalities a fair amount of money to get back out of that thing. Okay, call the question then. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. 1 and 2. Number 3. Correspondence from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, Helping Home Buyers and Protecting Tenants Act. Councillor Hutchison, you wanted this one pulled? Comment.
Yeah, so the last time we was on the last agenda, I just asked if staff would be interested in responding, and in the middle of it talks about Ontario is undertaking a 60-day consultation on a proposed new provincial planning statement until June 6, 2023. So I was curious whether staff felt well we should be commenting on it. It talks about rental rights, talks about new housing proposals, the whole gamut of things that the Ministry of Housing and Municipal Affairs is promoting. So does staff maybe want to respond to that? Maybe?
Laura Lee, Planner Spencer, please.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Staff have been corresponding with the local group of planners, specifically directed by the county. And there has been comments provided on the draft PPS. We're still continuing to work through those comments at this time, but there have been several meetings to that effect. County comments will be provided if they have not been already. I can't remember the specific date offhand here, but those comments have been provided. I don't believe we need to duplicate process to provide them at the local municipal level. Again, we haven't seen a thorough understanding of what the actual proposed provincial policy statement will be. It is simply in draft form, so it's not as though it's going to be passed imminently, as far as we understand at this point in time, and our resources at the provincial level. If it is the will of council, staff can provide comments to that effect and can provide them in advance of the June 6th deadline at the direction of council to do so.
Okay, so that's great. I think sounds like the planning department's on it. So yeah, I don't think we need to duplicate the process if it's already, if we feel that they're getting input, that's fine. We'll leave it at that.
I will confirm that last Thursday at County Council, we did have a fairly extensive discussion about the provincial planning statement. It's PPS still, but they changed policy to planning. So they kept the same acronym, they just changed the wording in it for a bit of a go. And the county has been is going to meet that June 6th with comments about this whole thing. One of the interesting points to it is that they want to build 1.5 million homes. And I think we heard at the politicians meeting in Katy a month and a half ago from one of the provincial planners, or an individual that from Waterloo that is held in high regard in the province. Planning capacity is not the problem. It's getting build on the land that is available, putting more land into it. There's 1.3, there's enough land already designated and sitting vacant, ready to go, that hasn't been built on. 1.3 million homes could be built tomorrow on the land that's already there. And then this idea of taking more land out of capacity. And one of the other aspects is we had Wayne Caldwell, who a professor at the University of Guelph in rural planning. His bigger concern is, the new one is that, and I see the planner Spencer has left, the new one is 25, any rural lot, 25 acres, give or take, whatever it is, you'll be able to have 3 severances on it. We're back to the 1980s when Grey County got slapped because severances were all over the place. And now all of a sudden, nope, legislation come in, you couldn't do that anymore. It's come full circle, and the province is telling us, anyone out there, Mr. Caldwell's biggest concern on that is, and it doesn't matter whether it's A1 or rural designation land, what is MDS going to do? And what's this going to do to the agricultural land if this goes, if it falls into place the way it's perceived to be? Now, it's not been put out there yet, but there's going to be some drastic changes if this provincial planning statement goes through the way it's being read right now by a number of individuals. So anyways, the county has, Doug, and sorry to take too long to say, the county's made statements on it, so they're entering the comments. Do you have anything further on that portion of it, Planner Spencer?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, just a point of clarification. One of the main concerns, which has definitely been reiterated and supported by the county, is that it's not just the ability for severances in rural areas. It's those prime agricultural lands that actually are going to have much more liberty than they have in the past. So prime agricultural land is class 1, 2, 3 soils, which is considered to be the best available land for farming, essentially from a soil perspective. And the liberties given through the proposed PPS is that they will have the ability to have several severances. 3 is the number that's out there right now. One of the county planners has estimated that could imagine 10,000 lots being created potentially if that draft document is actually put into fruition. So those are just some points to mull over, but we are working together as a county-wide planning group to provide comments and speak to that in that regard.
Thank you, Planner Spencer. Appreciate that. Okay. So no further action taken on that one at this point in time. We're Done. Then we're down to number 11. Let me get to that one here. Perth County, support for the school bus stop arm cameras. Councillor Noon, I think you wanted to make comment on this?
Yes, I'd like to support that. I have been witness to oncoming traffic not respecting the timeline in which they're to stop for the school bus. And so I totally support the cameras, and Clerk Eckensweiler again has prepared the resolution for it. Thank you.
Jamie?
Through you, Mayor, what I have is that in consideration of correspondence received from the municipality of North Perth respecting school bus stop arm cameras, council supports the resolution and directs staff to send a letter of support to Premier Doug Ford, Attorney General Doug Downey, Minister of Education Stephen Lecce, provincial opposition party leaders, MPP for Bruce Grey and Sound Rick Byers, Association of Municipalities of Ontario, and all Ontario municipalities.
Okay. I think Councillor Noon moves that, seconded by Councillor Townsend. Thank you, Doug. Any further comments on this? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. And the final one that was pulled. This was pulled by Councillor Shea. Thank you, Jeff. Did you want to speak to it or questions on that?
Sure. It's addressed to our planner, Laura Lee Spencer. And the opening line in this correspondence is, on behalf of the corporation, we are pleased to submit this application for municipal concurrence. So it seemed to me like this required some sort of action on our part. I don't really know. I'm hoping the planner can clarify what we might need to do here. Thank you.
Laura Lee?
Thank you.
Senator Spencer.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So this correspondence is relative to a consultation process. It is federally regulated and not subject so much to council approval as endorsement. So there is a planned preliminary planned. It's not scheduled completely as of yet for confirmation purposes. We're hoping to have them appear on June 20th, in which they'll be making a delegation. And at that point in time, there'll be correspondence provided as a motion for council to consider, providing support to the project. Again, it's not so much of a permission as much as support, and that would be due diligence in the consultation process for them. I can clarify further if you require. Thank you.
No, that satisfies me. So I'm happy to wait until we get the delegation. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. So we've dealt with 1 and 2. Made motion on that. 3 was received. 11. We did a motion on that one. So then we will have a motion on the motion to receive the rest. Jamie?
Through you, Mayor, what I have is that council receives all correspondence not otherwise dealt with.
You're getting efficient. Deputy Mayor, move that. Councillor Hutchison will second it. Any further comments? All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. That brings us down to 11.1. Just at 11 o'clock too. 11.1.1, costs associated with the RFP and study analysis of the police servicing model. Laura, any further comments, Madam CEO?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The report is before you to be received for information, but happy to answer questions should there be any.
Any questions or comments? This report that was asked for, Councillor Townsend.
Thank you, and thank you to staff for putting this together. It gives the community a good indication of what this whole process is costing the municipality. One question, and I was just curious, in the finance and HR numbers, does that include the work done by Police Board Secretary Webb?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, it does.
Okay. So if I'm reading the report right and adding up all the numbers, it looks like we're at about 606,826.53 has been spent to date on the costing exercise. Not to mention the mental wear and tear on the police members of our West Grey force and their families and a lot of people in the community. So that $606,000 has basically got us back to where we were, I guess, pre-costing with the, I'm taking into consideration we've paid, we had to pay the first architect firm $192,326, and now we're hired the second one at what is it, 297? Yeah, there it is, 297.5. So we're basically back to where we were year ago, year plus. Is that a feasible statement as opposed? And then we're also got to take into consideration with this exercise what the increased building costs will be. That'll be a ballpark number. We'll have to look at it sometime to kind of close this whole loop. Does that sound accurate?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, Councillor Townsend, those numbers are correct as reported in the report. The building was put on hold during the costing process. So as you will recall, in April, we do have the new number of 297.5. Mr. Shipwreck is here to answer any questions about that process. We're not starting from zero again. Mr. Shipwreck, can you comment on where we're at with that?
Yeah, we're using the original design for the building through the architect. We've received the original CAD files and a letter from the original architect to the new architect stating that giving them permission to use their drawings and use their files. So that's been done. The new architect is reviewing the drawings just to confirm that they agree with all the interpretations made by the original architect. Once that's done, then we will be looking at costing the building through their costing account, and then going out for an RFP for a tender for construction.
So I take it from that, there's no opportunity for us to look at changing those plans in any way, to look at the possibility of incorporating a fire hall onto that police building or anything like that, thinking long-term vision, although a lot more money right now, but I think we all know that the building as a whole downtown, where the police and the fire are, the building as a whole itself is aged, and the fire will be the next thing we have to move. So do we bite the bullet now, or do we bite the alligator, eat the elephant in little pieces? So just a thought.
I'll leave it at that thought. We're kind of getting off the topic of just numbers at this point in time. So we'll get back on to that before we get into that discussion, and they're here at 11 o'clock tonight. But take that somewhat into consideration going forward. Okay. I'm going to take Councillor Shea first, and then Councillor Hutchison. Jeff?
Yes, thank you. This request for this costing breakdown seems to me to have been a strange exercise. I was reviewing the consultant's report that we received, and I would like to just quote the last two sentences of the introduction, if I may. They say, based upon the 15-year financial model within this report, the municipality of West Grey is estimated to be able to save approximately $10 million within that period, assuming calls for service remain relatively the same as they are currently, or 7 to 10.5 million, depending on the call for service rate of change. This is if we were to go with the OPP option. And it concludes by saying neither model is a bad choice. However, they are somewhat different. The choice isn't one of picking the best. It is a choice of picking which is the best fit for what the municipality and its constituents believe is the best for them. And I think that really summarized the exercise, that there was an opportunity for substantial cost savings, but there were other things that needed to be discussed and considered at the same time. So a difficult and valuable conversation was had. I don't regret that we had the conversation. I think it was important to get all the facts on the table, and then a decision was made. So I'm quite prepared and comfortable to move forward. If others want to continue to discuss this issue ongoing for the remainder of this term of council, I suppose we could do that. But I think we have dealt with this and should be prepared to put it behind us. Thank you.
Councillor Hutchison. Doug?
Yeah, I just had a question, maybe to Director Shiprack, about the cost for the architect. So the original architectural cost was $247,300, which we paid $192,000. Then so the new architect is costed at $297,500. And given that they can use some of their plans and whatnot, I'm just curious about that amount. In terms of, we're not starting over again, but yet the cost is the same or even more. But maybe are they also doing something extra in terms of like overseeing the build and whatnot, that their cost will be higher? I'm just curious why their number is even higher than original, but yet the plans are already done for them and we're already long down the road in terms of the process. Can you clarify that for me?
Yeah, through your worship. Their cost of the new architect does include the project management of the new building, but that cost was included by the old architect as well. That's the difference between the 192,300 that we paid versus the 247, because they didn't do the project management portion of the building. So that's the portion that they didn't get paid that we were quoted. So what's that, approximately $50,000. And the cost of the new architects for the project management, I don't have the report here in front of me, but I believe the cost, if you can look back, is approximately $150,000 for the project management portion of it, of that 297. Approximately that. Like I said, I don't have the report here, but that's by memory.
Okay.
Get that moved. Receive. Anything to receive? Yes.
Yes. I need a motion. We've had a good discussion. Need a motion to receive CEO Johnson's report. Moved by Councillor Noon, seconded by Councillor Townsend. Any further discussions on the motion to receive the report? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Okay. 11.2. I believe what we're down to, Manager of Public Works. Surface treatment allocation of capital funds. Good morning, Mr. Aiken and Mr. Cook.
Good morning.
Welcome to be here. Do you have anything further to comment on your report as presented?
I would just like to remind council that concession 2 has about a 500 traffic count and is 80 kilometers an hour. And on Victoria Street, it has a traffic count less than 50 and has a posted speed of 50 kilometers an hour. In the budget for Victoria Street, it was only showing 400 meters. when the rural supervisor and I drove out there, I think it should actually be a little closer to 700 meters. And what was proposed was a base for Victoria to accept surface treatment as opposed to asphalt. I really think it should be an asphalt base on Victoria. Therefore, it is our recommendation, because we're short for concession 2, to set up a reserve for Victoria and use funds to do concession 2 correctly.
Okay. Comments? Start with Deputy Mayor.
Thank you,
Tom?
Mayor Eccles, and thank you for your report. Just reading the report, one of the concerns I have regarding Victoria Street in particular is that we would carry on the traditional work that we've done. And the work that we've done in the past is what's created a lot of the problems down there, because it's just going over and just doing the grading. That's where the issues are. And I just wanted to mention that this has been, and prior to me being here, which this is my 5th year, that's how long we've been dealing with this and letting the people know that we're working on it. And finally it got there to being passed in a budget. And now we're pulling that back. And I respect what we need to do at concession 2, but I think going to reserves and doing the traditional work that we've done there it's just going to be it's going to be the same thing. So there needs to be some kind of an enhancement there of some sort. Maybe you comment on that, please.
Yeah, through you, your worship, I don't disagree with your perspective, but ultimately the enhancement should be a road base that would accept asphalt. And that's not what's the dollar value in this year's budget will not allow for that to occur.
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. Okay, so the other part that I was reading on this is till the future development. We have no idea how long that could be. So these people there that have built their houses, and there's 3 or 4 or 5, and I'm not going to suggest the number, there's substantial amount of investment there. The development down at the end, the way that I was reading it, we don't know when that development could happen. That could be next year, it could be 5 years, it could be 10 years. We have no idea on that. We don't have control over that, if the development would even happen. And it's only speculation that it's going to take place. So I'm concerned that we're just going to continue to do the same. I know it has to be torn up, but there's got to be some kind of application we can put on top that we could repurpose when we do get into there next year. And hopefully it's next year. It's concerned that they're going to be dealing with the same thing over and over and over. And it is a problem there. And I live in Ayton, so I have to deal with it. Every time it rains, I'm dealing with it. So I just wondering if there's some way we can put something down, gravel to fill these pits. I know it's a total reconstruction, but at least be able to capture that material back when we do go back into to do the full job. If there's something we can do for them. Thank you.
I think there was a question there. Is there an answer?
In terms of the gravel, yeah, we can recapture the gravel. If there are potholes that are the issue, we can do enhanced patrols looking for the potholes to fill them in. If dust is the issue, we could look at a second application of calcium.
I don't know. This is an operational thing, so I just know what I've learned through Good Roads. I'm just trying to come up with a solution for the citizens that are on that road. I don't have the answers to that, and I'm not going to suggest I do. I don't know if Mr. Cook has an idea. You've been down there. I know Mr. Cook several times, that there's something that we can do, but there's some spots that are worse than others. And I'm just trying to give them something down there, because this has been an ongoing issue. And again, I've been at this table for 5 years, and I think it goes even further than that. But that's it. I will leave it at that. I'm a little disappointed the work's not going to get done. I respect the fact with the shortcoming of concession 2, and I understand the importance of that. But I think that this needs to be a priority next year. We've been constantly bringing this to the table for the budget. And now we did approve it. It was endorsed by this council, only to be have to take it away to pick up the shortfall of another project. That's just where I'm just a little disappointed in that, but I will certainly support what you're trying to do on concession 2. Thank you.
Okay. Joyce, did you have a comment? Councillor Noon.
Yes, thank you. Okay, I'm going to back up a bit here. The proposal for accepting the tender is the difference of the $85,000 if you're going with a higher bid. To my understanding, the one bidder has left previous work unfinished, and that you're still working through trying to get those issues resolved. I was informed that it's somewhere in Normanby between the years of 2020 and 2021. But I look at it, if you still accept the lowest bid, which is the one you're working with the other issues, I would think that they're still going to give the best bang for their buck because of their past history with the municipality, that they're going to ensure that the work that they've been that they bid to do will be good. So if you could make some comment as to how you're rectifying the previous situation, and if the $85,000 you still feel is warranted to go over and above at this time. Thank you.
So through you, your worship, there's 2 parts to that answer. The first part is we have met them on site. They've come up with a proposal how to deal with the deficiencies. We feel their proposal was fair and reasonable, but in all fairness, with a surface treatment, you need to go through a year minimum of the freeze thaw cycle to actually evaluate its performance to make sure you got the solution correct and that you're getting the performance you want, and that we're trying to maximize the lifespan of the original capital investment. The second part of it in that tender on that specific line item, both tenders received are over the proposed budget. So we have to have a reallocation discussion regardless of which one you pick. It's just one contractor we feel is in a better position to give us the best benefit.
Okay, anything further? Mr. Cook or Tim?
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. Councillor Noon, that in question of the bad road that we have is actually right at your old farm. It was, if you remember, in 2021, we pulverized it. We added gravel. We had it in great shape. We did a double coat of surface treatment on it. It's hard to tell at first when they do it because the kickoff, what we call the float, is still on there. The following spring is when we noticed it. That this, if you look there now, if you guys drive that road, you'll see the center line is out of it. There's holes in the center line, and I can take a screwdriver and go right down into the gravel. And like, it shouldn't be like that. That road isn't going to last. That road well, right now you've got to do something with that road or you're going to lose it. Where you should be able to 7 years before you have to do anything to it. Just a little history. We started noticing in 2018 when our former director was here, Brent. Some of their workmanship just wasn't the best. 2018, Edges Side Road, north of Durham. If you drive it, you can see it. Brent, Director Brent at the time, made a deal with MSO. We repaired it. They paid for all the repairs and they paid for our time, our staff, and we repaired it what we thought would work. Now the plows are lifting the asphalt off of that center line. So so every year we've noticed. So 2019, just let me back, 2019, Duncor actually won the tender. It's the first time we've ever had Duncor in. And I couldn't believe it, the workmanship. It was just like night and day. such a better job. If you look at 71 down there, that's what Duncor did. Concession 4 out by the station there, the old station, Duncor did it. There's just a difference in the workmanship. So like, yeah, that's one of the reasons. I've got a lot of some evidence here of roads that it's the center line. Their issue is the center line. They're aware of it. I talked to, when Jeff and I met their general manager down on 12th concession, he told us that they had had problems before. They thought they had it corrected. He assures us that they will come and do a good job, but you only get a year's warranty. That's all they, and Duncor's the same. So like I say, you don't notice it at first, it'll be next year, you know, and then where do we go from there? So that's why we are looking to take the top most expensive tender.
Okay. Discussion, any other comments? Looking for somebody, there is a recommendation here. Just the way this recommendation is, does that allow us to accept the Duncor tender? Or maybe I'm missing that you just don't see it here.
Yes, it would. If you did the full allocation, yes, it would.
Okay. So the recommendation is there. That's what's up. Have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Hutchison, seconder. Councillor Shea. Jeff, thank you. Anybody want to read that out? Okay with what it is that's there? Jamie? Sure. Go ahead.
Moved by Councillor Hutchinson, seconded by Councillor Shea, that in consideration of staff report IPW 2023-04 surface treatment reallocation of capital funds, council direct staff to reallocate 25,000 of the surface treatment budget for Highland Estate / concession 6 and $60,000 from Victoria Avenue project to the concession 2 project to fund an estimated $85,000 shortfall on the concession 2 project, and postpones the reconstruction of Victoria Avenue until residential development is complete, with the balance of the funds allocated for the Victoria Avenue project, $90,000 tax levy, being set aside and reserved specifically dedicated to future road work on Victoria Avenue.
Okay, everybody good with that? Councillor Noon.
I object to the wording till residential is done, because it's unknown when that new housing development or new housing is going to take place on that road. And further, if the job's going to be postponed now to 2024, you've got 90,000 put in reserve. You've got 60,000 that at this year was set aside for it, but Public Works Manager Aiken, you had mentioned that the current costing was for surface treatment and you believe it should be asphalt. That again will enhance that cost for 2024, correct? And always to my understanding, the road would be rehabilitated 1 year and the asphalt put on the next year to give some settlement to the area or to the road. So if you could just give some direction on that, if that's allowed, like being the motions on the table, like for comment from the manager.
Through you, Mayor, to Councillor Noon, the motion is debatable, so yes, conversation and debate is still permitted.
Through you, your worship, yes, it would sit for a year before we did put the hard surface on top, and the capital request would have to be a dollar value sufficient for asphalt at that time.
Sir Joyce, go ahead.
Again, could there be the section in the motion be reworded regarding the development clause? Because as far as I know, like there's only one lot there that's buildable currently, and I realize in a new subdivision that you know, they don't put any base on a road because of all the construction, now it impacts people coming and going, and so, but on that particular road, it's just a one, there's nothing coming off there for any other development at this time, or to my knowledge, in the immediate future. Thank you.
So are you suggesting a motion, Councillor Noon, that until amend the motion number 2 until residential development is further understood?
I don't think you need it in there at all. It's just a fact that the construction's being put off for a year on that particular road.
So you're looking to amend it just to postpone the reconstruction of Victoria Avenue, amend, and then with the balance of funds. So you want to take out until residential development is complete?
If the mover and the seconder are in agreement to that, thank you.
No, it would be an amendment. I want it to be an
Oh,
amendment, not,
I
because that
see.
changes it.
Okay, then yes, then
I
amendment,
was
thank
taught
you.
that friendly wasn't a good word to put in for amendments, correct? Yeah. So Joyce wants to move the seconder, Deputy Mayor? On that amendment?
Yes, and a quick comment.
Yeah.
I don't believe it's Victoria Avenue, just while we're making this amendment.
Victoria Street.
Thank you. Make sure we're clear on that. And I will second that motion.
Okay. So you got the amendment there?
Through you, Mayor Eccles, what I have is the second paragraph of the main motion be amended to strike until residential development is completed.
I can't hear you, Your Worship.
Yeah, well, you probably don't want to. It was okay. We had to prompt Councillor Noon there for a second. So now we're back to the original motion as amended, or the main motion as amended. The until residential development is complete has been taken out, and it's Victoria Street. Go ahead.
Through you, Mayor Eccles, the main motion as amended is that in consideration of staff report IPW 2023-04 surface treatment reallocation of capital funds, council directs staff to reallocate 25,000 of the surface treatment budget from Highland Estates /concession 6 and 60,000 from Victoria Street project and the concession 2 project to fund an estimated $85,000 shortfall on concession 2 project, and postpones the reconstruction of Victoria Street with the balance of the funds allocated for the Victoria Street project, $90,000 tax levy being set aside in a reserve specifically dedicated to the future road work on Victoria Street.
Okay. Good with that. Any further discussion? We'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Declare that carried. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Aiken and Mr. Cook. Get out there and keep the dust down now for the rest of the day. Thanks, gentlemen. Director of Infrastructure and Development, CBO 11.3.1. Director Shipwreck, Carl, it's your report on page 98 on building activity. Any further comments on that? or any questions for Carl? Pretty straightforward. Things are spring, they've slowed down a little bit in comparison to the last couple of years, but maybe the last couple of weeks have indicated that things are speeding up again and your holidays are over. Okay. Then I'll ask for if there's no questions on Carl's report, just that make a motion to receive CBO's report, moved by Councillor Townsend, seconded by Councillor Forster. Thank you. Any questions on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you, Carl. Manager of Planning and Development. Ms. Spencer, are you with us? There she is. The next one is 11.4.1. The zoning amendment 12.2023. Ryan and Kaufman. Any further? Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. Any further comments there, Laura Lee?
And just a reminder, through you, Mr. Mayor, that this is related to a Committee of Adjustment decision based on an application that was provided, previously approved. The recommendation at the time for the severance application was to recommend denial for a variety of reasons that the committee has heard previously. On this basis, a zoning amendment on the condition that the Committee of Adjustment approve the application was recommended to recognize the deficient lot area of the proposed lot. This simply will be fulfilling a condition of consent based on committee's approval. Recommendation is still to refuse the zoning amendment on the same basis that it was recommended for the severance to be refused by the Committee of Adjustment. It is the will of council to proceed as they wish. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay, any further questions? Planner Spencer. Councillor Hutchison.
Yeah, well, I'm still at the little bit curious in terms of why we're refusing when all the reports, the county, the Saugeen Valley are saying it's okay to go ahead. So they've talked about the 51 hectares meets the criteria of being 15% prorated threshold. So complicated process, but talks about that Saugeen Valley does not have concerns related to the hazard lands. County staff, county planning staff have no concerns. The Ontario Land Tribunal hearing said that the gravel was previously extracted, so gravel isn't an issue. So both Saugeen Valley and NVCA provided natural heritage review and found that the proposed lot creation will have no negative impacts. The only other one was not sure now, is the NVCA, is that the archaeological study? I'm not sure of the term on that, but there was a question about archaeological study that maybe need to come forward yet. But to me, I don't see a lot of issues. There's a lot of houses in that area. Yes, it's there's a lot of hazard area and water and so on, trees in the area, but I mean, it's just another opportunity to build a house and some land that really isn't useful for anything else. So I'd be supportive of them going ahead. It's unfortunate that they didn't meet their timeline when it came to the land tribunal, but being COVID and everything else going on, maybe there was some other reason. So I'd be in favor of accepting this application rather than refusing it. Thank you.
Any comments on that? Planner Spencer? A reminder of why you're refusing it? Go ahead.
No, this was discussed extensively. So the provisional approval has been granted by committee, consistent with my interpretation of policy. Again, to recommend approval of zoning after recommending refusal of a consent application would be very inconsistent and unprofessional. So my position remains, again, based on the policies and my interpretation, and it is Saugeen Ojibwe Nation as a result of the archaeological assessment. NVCA does not have status here in this particular municipality. In essence, the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority did review natural heritage features as well at the time of the application when originally provided. Further to that, it is the will of the committee to consistently approve this. This file had to come forward. Should there be an appeal, both files would be required to appear before the Ontario Land Tribunal, and the recommendation for both is consistent from my perspective. So it's been discussed extensively. I don't believe there's a need to provide further information unless further clarification is required. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on this? So the recommendation from the planner is for refusal of the zoning bylaw amendment to come forward. Do I have anybody that? Deputy Mayor.
Just a comment, Mayor Echoes, or more, I guess, more of a question. I believe Councillor Hutchison may have introduced a motion there, is how I was listening. I just want to be clear on that, if I could, sir.
No.
I could make a motion. I wasn't sure how you want to approach it, but I could make a motion to accept, but we have a recommendation. Do we have to vote on that first? No. No.
Go ahead, Jim.
Through your mayor to council, if it's council's wish to direct staff to bring forward a bylaw to approve the zoning bylaw amendment, then such a motion would need to be presented. So what you could do is that in consideration of staff reports at A12-2023, Grind, Dean, and Kaufman, Becky, David, Glenn, council directs staff to bring forward a bylaw to authorize the passage of a zoning bylaw amendment.
Okay, so I would make that motion.
And I would second that motion, sir.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to bring forward the bylaw from zoning amendment 12.2023 of the Brian Kaufman. Any further questions or comments on this motion? Call the question in. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Okay. Looking forward to that bylaw coming up. 11.5. Director of Legislative Services, Clerk, Volunteer Program Policy. Huh. This one's been volunteered before.
Thank you, Mayor Echoes. The last time this report was before council expressed concerns with the policy, noting that it may be too restrictive and may not address all aspects of volunteerism in West Grey. Staff took these comments and have redrafted the volunteer policy to make it more inclusive and less restrictive. The revised policy no longer includes an employment style application form. Volunteer opportunities will be posted on the West Grey website, with the intake process being similar to previous volunteer opportunities. The objective of the volunteer program is to have the community sign up rather than apply. Staff have also clarified the requirement for criminal record and vulnerable sector checks. These checks will not be required for the vast majority of volunteer opportunities that community members may get involved with. It should also be noted that any member of the public that is currently volunteering with the municipality will be grandfathered into the program. A self-organized community committee model has been identified for past committee members who would like to continue operating under a committee structure. These self-organized community committees would be individuals who want to organize to discuss certain topics that may generate policy recommendations or organize community events. In these cases, the community committee would organize independently from the municipality and be able to delegate to council to make requests and provide updates on their initiatives. Functioning as a self-organized committee would allow them to operate outside of the formal parliamentary model, meaning they would not be required to create formal agendas and minutes and would not be subject to quorum restrictions. As with other independent community organizations and service clubs, staff would be available to provide support and guidance as directed by council and through a memorandum of understanding. And with that, we would be happy to take any questions on the program.
Any further questions or comments? on the policy as it's presented. Councillor Shay. Jeff?
Thank you. And thanks, Jamie, for hearing the some of the concerns that were brought up and incorporating response in this new drafted version. We all will have received correspondence, I believe, from the Newstat Rec Committee, which I served on with Councillor Forster. And they have specifically requested that they would prefer to keep the same structure that they were operating under recently. That is to still continue to be a committee of council. I've also had a meeting with the Climate Action Advisory Committee members, former Climate Action Advisory Committee members, about what their preference was in terms of operating as a committee or not. And they were in line very much with the sentiment that's expressed in here. And many of those members have gone on to form a self-organizing community group called, now the name escapes me, but they are sort of operating independently, but they did express an interest in continuing to operate as a committee of council as well as the Climate Action Advisory Committee with a very much reduced mandate. And that would be to meet perhaps 4 times a year just to review the ICLEI milestones that the council is on the verge of adopting from the report that we received. So the idea there is not that they are there to monitor staff's activities or progress at council. They're not there to get in the way. They're there to be. They would be there to be cheerleaders. And to possibly identify opportunities to enhance or create the biggest impact in what as we're striving to achieve these milestones. So I'm just reporting back that the members of that committee would like to make a smaller and less active committee just to continue citizen involvement with the municipality's climate action ambitions. I further would like to report that I have spoken to some of the members of the Accessibility Advisory Committee, and there is interest there in possibly stepping up and taking on the legislated responsibilities that the province has mandated that all municipalities have to fulfill, and that is to have a committee that advises council and staff on implementation of accessibility actions within the community. We currently participate with Grey County's Accessibility Advisory Committee and fulfill our legislative responsibility that way, but we do have the option to take that activity in-house and have our own accessibility advisory committee. So I would like us to consider maintaining the Newstat Recreation Committee, creating a new, smaller climate action committee with a much reduced mandate and activity and meeting schedule, and taking the Accessibility Advisory Committee in-house. These programs are not all specifically mentioned in this report, but they're sort of alluded to. So I think it would be possible to accept and approve this volunteer program report at this time as it's written. And then if needed, I could make motions in the future to establish or reestablish these other committees, and they could be debated on a case-by-case basis. But I guess looking to the clerk to see how we should move forward.
Through you, Mayor, to Councillor Shay, I think that would be appropriate. Any conversation on a potential committee in the future would have to come back through way of motion. I don't think it would be appropriate to introduce that as a part of this report, as it's not really part and parcel with that. It does have elements of that, but I think public notice would be appreciated on that one. So I don't think we can do that today, but I think what you've suggested is bringing something forward in the future. And approving this policy as it is today would be the most appropriate way to deal with this.
Okay. So with that being said, do you want to move that motion then, Councillor Shea?
Yes, I'd be happy to.
Very good. Accepting the policy as presented. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hutchison, thank you, and then comment.
Comment. Okay. Yeah, so in general, I can live with this policy, though I think there has to be some flexibility in it. I think, as Councillor Shea has mentioned, I think there is a need for committees in some cases, and hopefully going forward that we can bring in a committee if we need it, and maybe it's short term, and then if they meet their mandate, they fold. I have a little bit of a concern with some of the items, like number 4. It talks about the application for a volunteer. My previous experience being on council is we used to have people volunteer to be on committees. So they send their name in, maybe with a little background letter or whatever. And then we decided, okay, they're good for this committee. They actually asked which committee they'd like to be on. And then we sort of decided, were they good for this committee or no committee? And then we put them onto committees. This now with the volunteer program, we're asking them for an application form, a resume. Resume and cover letters may accompany this application. So I find it a little bit peculiar that before it was just like send in your name and a little bit about yourself and we'll put you on a committee. And now we're saying you have to have a formal application to be a volunteer. And along with that, later on, number 7, it talks about that you will actually have a meeting with staff to review their application and discuss volunteer opportunities. My concern is that now we're into more staff time. So not only is it, they're applying, which is a little more onerous. That's regardless of whether you do the police check thing. And I know there's some different criteria there, but then to have staff meet with all the volunteers to say, okay, that's great. We'll take you on as a volunteer for gardens, for example. And I'm pleased to see that we're going to grandfather some volunteers, or grandmother in most cases. I think when it comes to our gardens, that they don't have to go through this process. But I think I'm just a little bit fearful that we're going to discourage volunteers. And right now we can't get enough volunteers for a lot of places and a lot of things. So I don't want to make it too complicated that we're going to turn away people just because they don't want to jump through a whole bunch of hoops. We talk about red tape. They don't want the red tape. They just want to volunteer. So I'll leave it at that. That's a couple of my concerns I have, but.
Mr. Hewitt, Cody, I'll make comment on that of how we're moving forward with this, please.
Through you, and thank you for the question, Councillor. Basically, the volunteer application form is as simple as who are you, and some general contact information. What do you want to do, and when are you available? So it's really just collecting that information so that we can triage volunteers to say, okay, you want to work in the gardens, let's figure out a way to make that happen. And those meetings that we would be having with volunteers are basically as simple as the one that you and I had last night when we met to talk about our garden plan moving forward. So it's as simple as, okay, where do you want to work? What do you want to do? And where can we place you?
Through you, Mayor, just to add to what Mr. Hewlett has identified as well, is it does speak to an application, a resume. That would be if the individual would like to provide that information. For example, if they want to volunteer to do gardening and they've been a horticulturalist or a gardener in the past and they really want to showcase that, then certainly they'd be welcome to submit a cover letter, resume, what have you. It would be totally optional and it would be up to them. Certainly not required, but just an option given if they will want to explore that avenue.
And I think if I could, the way I see this happening, it's individuals that are moving into the community that don't have that connection, whether it's with the Newstead Recreation that's putting on roller skating on Friday night, or the ball tournament, and or horticultural group in Durham doing gardens, or somebody looking after the Barney Pond. Digress, but it's this is more for them. We've got a volunteer groups that are out there. It's just so that we have a line on who they are. That's all we really need to go. We know that, yeah, the Busy Bees in Aden are going to be doing, are already there. They're going to do. And away you go and do it. Am I correct in that type of the way we're putting it out there? Mr. Hewitt, keep nodding. Yep, good. Okay. And further, Laura? And then
Thank
we'll
you,
go.
Mr. Mayor. And I'd like to remind council that this process actually mirrors what we currently do, because if we were going with a committee model, we put the call out, people submit their interest through our website, and that is actually the application form that is generated for council to make those assignments in closed session. So we're fast tracking a little bit because those that have volunteered with us we're already tapping on their shoulder. Any new folks, we have an opportunity to promote what's available. And just as Mr. Hewlett said, here's the online link. Tell us who you are, what you're interested in, and how we can reach you.
Councillor Noon. Joyce?
Well, thank you. Under your report, it indicates, in addition to a volunteer program, ad hoc committees could be created on an assigned needed basis to perform a specific task and complete a specific project. I think that's wonderful, but I don't see that outlined in the actual policy. I know just from past, they were called the Diamond. So it was Durham here, and they were raising money for their, and it was like an ad hoc. Am I saying that wrong? Ad hoc. Yeah. So I think that would be wonderful. Like I'm just thinking with the recreational groups, I'm not sure where that's all going as far as the Ayton part of it is, but if we wanted to do another fundraising for the kitchen per se, that we'd have that opportunity then to go as an ad hoc to do that event, that fundraising event. I was just wondering just for some more information on that and if it's included in the policy. Thank you.
Yeah.
Through you, Mayor Eccles, thank you for the question, Councillor Noon. So that's not specifically captured in this policy, as the policy is designed for volunteering specifically. An ad hoc committee would be a committee of council that council would provide direction to staff to bring forward terms of reference for. It would have a very limited mandate, and the time frame of the committee would be such that once their mandate had been met, that the committee would be dissolved. So if council feels the need to strike up an ad hoc committee for whatever reason, then certainly that could be done in future. We would just need that direction to bring forward terms of reference for an ad hoc committee.
Okay. Any further questions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. And yes, Councillor Shea, I think to your point, if there is a need somewhere along the line that is felt, council can strike a committee here or there and or an ad hoc committee for specific purposes. To your point, Councillor Noon, this doesn't impede on that whatsoever. Okay. Questions? In accordance with the bylaw, members may request clarification or updates on previous agenda items. Anything? Councillor Townsend. Doug?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wondering where we're at with the community gardens as far as picking locations or what's happening with that whole process.
Cody.
Thank you, and through you. I met with garden users last week, and we have identified a new site for the garden. So they will be going across the road in that green space there, across from the Durham Arena, and they will stay at the current site until the end of this planting season for movement in the fall.
All right.
Keep going.
All right. Thanks for that, Cody. No thought of putting smaller sites throughout Durham. Like I'm thinking up by the tennis court there, where that, if we get them closer to some of the apartment buildings and some of the other areas, that maybe it'd be utilized more. Just a thought.
We did look at that site. However, in part of moving the gardens, it was partially funded by Tree Canada. They did a site analysis of a number of sites that I had sent them, and they had identified that the site by the current tennis courts would not be suitable.
Thank you.
Further?
I'm still going. I'm still going.
I think
Don't worry.
No, you're still going. This is what happens when you miss a meeting. Okay, go ahead, Doug.
Economic development. Always a question, where are we at as a municipality with economic development? A lot of our neighboring municipalities we see them actively doing things and promoting things. And I know we've got the new chamber now that's getting up to speed, but what are we doing as West Grey to promote our businesses and our farmers market and that sort of thing? I'm just curious where we're at with that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Councillor Townsend. Thanks for the question. We are still actively participating in all of the local networking opportunities and the other partners that we work with. We actually just met with the new chamber on Friday to walk through some of the promotions for their members and what our financial contribution would look like in the way of community events that will help businesses and get some profile on them. The economic development strategy that the Wilfrid Laurier MBA students are putting together is winding. It's fast tracked. They're coming to council. Well, they're expecting their draft completion one. Cody can speak to this much better than I. In 4 weeks, 5 weeks. And so council will see that. That strategy is really going to be our next kickoff for a discussion with council on where we go from there.
Any other questions? Councillor Noon.
Thank you. A question, I guess, with the budget being passed, it's regarding the bleachers in Ayton. I've been just talking about it with people in Ayton and with the upcoming ball tournament scheduled, and it's going to be a little bit earlier this year. It'll be the last weekend in July, but it's regarding the bleachers, and we had talked about the armor stone and tiered with grass, and that eliminates a lot of maintenance, like with if you were to put in the bleachers, the wooden bleachers or whatever, you've got all the maintenance, you've got the leaves underneath, the way it composts down, more bugs, so on and so forth. But this is a cleaner fit to their. So I was just wondering, and speaking with these people, they're wondering if this could be done by volunteers, with the exception, of course, the armor stone and the sod that would be needed to put it in place. If maybe an ad hoc maybe group could be formed in order to get this up and going. Some of these people have equipment that could be brought in. I'm not sure how municipal insurance will impact in all this, but I'm just reaching out right now to see if this budget item could be done by volunteers. Thank you.
Looking to where we're at with that. I know we had it in the budget. Cody, got anything for us, Mr. Hewitt?
If I may, I'm not sure where the budget is currently sitting and what we have allocated to that line off the top of my head. I would defer to Director Mighton on that. However, if a volunteer group or a group of individuals wanted to come forward to work on a project such as that, I don't feel as though it would fit the need of an ad hoc committee, but rather just a volunteer group that we could potentially enter into an MOU with.
Okay. Yes, Councillor Hutchison, Doug.
Yeah, so one of my questions follows Councillor Townsend's talking about economic development. We do have some allotted staff time for economic development in terms of our planner running the CIP program. Is that correct? Right. So my only concern with not having committee would be, are we looking out for West Grey without taking it into all the other municipalities? So I do think, and maybe, next budget, we'll look at, can we up the amount of time that we allot for economic development in terms of staff time? Because right now it's only a part position, that's my understanding, right? Economic development.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Councillor Hutchinson. We've divided the economic development portfolio a few ways. Planner Spencer is heavily involved with not only CIP, but initial inquiries, that kind of, I'm looking at this property, I want to do this. So she's involved with that. Mr. Hewlett sits at a lot of those collaborative tables. And I jump in when things need another level of opinion, or we'll leave it there. So we do have a lot of staff that are looking at supporting economic development, but of course I would support a dedicated resource for that. However, I'm waiting on the strategy to see where we land on that, because I think that's going to help. And should a committee be helpful, then I think council would have that conversation at that time.
Okay, thank you. And another, I was going to make this as an announcement, but I'll change it into a question. Just to fit the criteria. So some of us were involved in the clean sweep that we advertised and whatnot, and a lot of people, I don't think, got the message, but obviously people at this time of year are aware that it's time to pick up some garbage in their communities. And we have a lot of groups that do look after their side road, their area for garbage pickup. So given that a few councillors met at the arenas and we had some people come, and we didn't have a big turnout, as Councillor Noon and Councillor Forrester and Councillor Shea were involved there. So my suggestion is maybe next year this is where I'm going to make my question. Next year, can we look at making some kind of clean sweep involving Earth Day, which is April 22nd, through maybe to the new program, which is called Clean Up. What's it? It's not Clean Sweep. What's the provincial Clean Up Litter Day or whatever? So make it a window of maybe a month that people can clean up in your area. We'll support them by giving garbage bags, promoting, maybe have them send in a picture of them after their job is done. And we have a prize, a draw for a prize for people that have done some cleanup in the area. Just expand it, but not necessarily make it that us as councillors have to babysit or take them by the hand and go out and help clean up garbage. Let them do their area, and we'll promote it, and we'll support them and reward them in some case if we have some prizes or whatever. But I just like to, in next year, I know Cody did some work on this year's clean sweep, and thank you for that, Cody. But I think I would like to see us change that. And is that possible? There's the question. Is that possible that we could look at changing that for next year?
Cody, please.
Thank you, and through you, thank you for the question, Councillor. I like all the ideas you have proposed, so maybe next year you and I can connect on that, and we can start planning something out. I think there'll be a little bit ebbs and flows with what you had mentioned, but I think overall, big picture, it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
To Councillor Noon's, Councillor Noon has been involved in this program in the past, and I know, so she would be a good resource, I think, in terms of who's doing what out there in terms of our communities, because there are a lot of the Adopt the Road signs out there that people, look after it. So, I'll leave it at that.
Yes, I believe we have 54 last count of Adopt a Road. When I did the clean sweep, and we always did like the first weekend in May, we would send out letters to all those Adopt a Road people and put out a media release and put it in the paper for the cleanup. We used to host a pre-COVID barbecue in Ayton. I tried when we initially started it to try to get one in all the communities, but Ayton the fire department was the only one that kind of come forward. So we used to have the gathering there, and we'd have a few draws, like the municipality provided some garbage tags or some blue boxes and stuff. So it could turn into a wrap up. Again, Cody and yourself could kind of, do that, and just, it's just another social gathering after it's all done, and people just get together and talk about their communities and what they've done with their litter pickup, and maybe that's a place too where you could post the pictures and stuff. But yeah, it's a great yearly event. I think it would be great to continue. Thank you.
Okay. I think we did have some good participation in that, and Councillor Forrester and I were down in Newstead. Scott?
All right, a quick question about the digital traffic safety speed signs. I wondered when they were going to be reinstalled, and I passed on a few suggestions of possible locations.
Mr. Mayor, if we could go to Mr. Aiken for this one, that would be helpful. If he's there, we just need to call his name.
Mr. Aiken. Is he hiding like Mr. Wilson behind the fence? Yeah, Mr. Will. Mr. Aiken. Jeff, are you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yep. Yes, through you, your worship. We are wrapping up our winter operations. Well, it's actually wrapped up now, and we are ramping up our summer operations, which will include the installation of those speed signs.
Coming to you soon. Okay. All right. And I do know that, yes, in conjunction with that, I can report from the police service that stay within the limits, because police are doing a very good job of enforcing the speed limits out there, even in subdivisions. Correct, Mr. Shipwreck? I have seen one out in your neck of the woods. Surprisingly, how many people stop at a stop sign when there's a police car close by? Okay. All right. Any other questions? Councillor Noon.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to follow up, and maybe I interrupted when they was talking the economical discussion there, but getting back to Ayton, is that something, Cody, that we could meet like the volunteers, or how do we get that going regarding the bleachers? I believe $10,000 was set aside for that project, and it was coming from the fundraising, the Normie fundraising account.
Go ahead.
Thank you, and through you, I see Director Mighton nodding that it was approximately $10,000 allocated to that. There she is nodding again to that budget line. So yes, if the volunteers want to reach out to me via email, we can coordinate something.
Good. Okay. All right. We'll get down, if that's it for questions, let's go down to bylaws. 13.1. Bylaw number 2023-047, confirming the procedures. Have a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor Hutchison, seconded by Councillor Townsend. Any questions or comments on that? All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried. 13.2, bylaw number 2023-041, grants to organization policy. A bylaw to adopt the municipal grants to organization policy. Been some time coming. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Forrester, seconded by Councillor Hutchison. Questions or comments? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Bylaw number 13.3, bylaw number 2023-42, zoning amendment 12-2023 grind. The bylaw to amend the zoning. We have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Deputy Mayor Hutchison, seconded by Councillor Noon. Any questions or comments on this? Seeing none, I'll call the question then. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. The next number of bylaws, I believe there is 4 or 5 of them here, deal with West Grey and Grey County tiered response. for EMS and fire. 13.4, bylaw number 2023-408, West Gray and Gray County tiered response with municipality and county. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Townsend, seconded by Councillor Noon. Any questions or comments on this motion or on this bylaw? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Bylaw 13.5, bylaw number 2023-049. The bylaw between the municipality of West Gray, municipality or township of Southgate and Gray County, tripartite emergency response amending agreement. Do I have a mover and a seconder for this bylaw? Moved by Councillor Hutchison, seconded by Councillor Forrester. Any questions or comments on this motion? Call the question then. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Bylaw 13.6, bylaw number 2023-50, bylaw between the municipality of West Gray, Hanover, and Gray County, tripartite emergency response amending agreement. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Townsend, seconded by Councillor Noon. Any questions or comments on this one? All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Bylaw 13.7, bylaw number 2023-051. Emergency response between the municipality of West Gray, Gray Highlands, and the Gray County response amending agreement. Do I have a mover? Councillor Hutchison, second by Deputy Mayor Hutchison. Any comments, questions? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. The last one of these is bylaw number 2023-052 between West Gray, Brockton, and Gray County. Tripartite agreement. Do we have a mover? Councillor Shea moves, and Councillor Forrester. Thank you. Any questions? Call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. That's it for the tripartite agreements. Bylaw number 13.9, bylaw number 2023-053, holiday shopping bylaw. Do I have a mover and a seconder for this bylaw? Moved by Deputy Mayor Hutchison, seconded by Councillor Noon. You're throwing things at me? No, sir. Any questions or comments on the bylaw? Call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Okay. New business. Any new business? Seeing none. Announcements. Do we have any announcements? Deputy Mayor Tom?
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. One is May 27th, Newstead Lions Club Lobster Fest /crab/steak. I believe there's still tickets available. So you can reach out to any of the Newstead Lions Club members down there. Also, just to respond, May 9th, yes, I was in Ayton at the arena to do with the cleanup. 2 volunteers showed up. And I'm happy to say that I went through the town with them. We collected all of 1/3 of a bag. That's it. We did every road, but there was just nothing there, which was really good. So I was glad to see that there's no rubbish around town. I'm sure there's some in the outskirts. Last but not least, this past Saturday, Sauga Municipal Airport held just kind of an open house for the 3 municipalities. So they just kind of come out. We did a tour for council, so that any of the council members that had attended. And I'm very happy to say that a week and a half ago, we held the launch of our fundraiser, as we said that we would, trying to raise $60,000, which the chair was here, which we spoke about. And on our opening night, I just want to report that we have $33,000 towards our 60,000 goal. So that is the launch. So we're well on our way. That's over 50%, quick math. And we haven't really even started to get out into the community and outside of our community for some of the bigger naming tickets. So I think we're certainly going to achieve. And from what I understand, we raised our goal to 100, not 60. So well on our way. Thank you.
Congratulations. Good. Anything else? Any other announcements? Councillor Noon.
I just wanted to give you an update. The Busy Bees, well, Mary Lou we hosted a Birds, Bees and Butterflies gathering at the Centennial Hall on May the 6th. Unfortunately, it wasn't well attended, but I was overwhelmed with what I learned from, we had a gentleman from, he's actually a counselor from the Drayton area, speaking on teaching nature to school students and how the moon affects growing and stuff, just learning just different tidbits. We also had another chap there talking about bees and how bees is like raising dairy cattle, like, you know, one is as important as the other, and how that impacts on the environment. We also, on behalf of the municipality, we set up a recycling display. We showed plastic film. We had a used table set up. So a lot of it was always is geared to diversion, nature, just being natural. It was really well attended. I hope next year we can do better and get the message out there. But I just wanted to bring that to your attention, that it was a lot of fun and a good experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Joyce. Anything else? Scott? Councillor Forster.
All right, I just wanted to let people know this Friday there'll be wing night in Elmwood. And on Saturday, June the 3rd, the firemen are having breakfast there.
Very traditional in Elmwood, yes. About 2 times a year, they have a traffic jam in Elmwood, and that's one of them on June the 3rd with everybody well attended. Certainly has been in the past anyways. Thanks for that, Scott. Anything else? I do have one, May 20th. I saw a notification that I think it's through the Horticultural Society are having a plant sale in Durham at Riverside Park. 8 till noon. I'm just not, I got the date down. It is May 20th and it is in the morning. So, but how early you have to be there to get the pick of all the good plants, but that plant sale is on May 20th in Durham at Riverside Park. And anything else? Just wanted to make a shout out. Westgrade Durham Lady Huskies Senior A team. I think it was in the paper last week, but just wanted to make more mention of that. Our Ontario champions. They won the championship a couple of weeks ago. Maybe we can do something to recognize that for them. Certainly, municipality will greatly appreciate it. And yes, they do have some young ladies from outside the municipality, but I think the vast majority of the team are local Westgrade residents, and great for them for bringing the provincial championship home to us, and great success into the future for women's hockey. Doug?
Yeah, just to jump on that idea, I'd like to see us get back to, and I think we've done it in the past, get back to more recognition of some of our local citizens. Speaking, you talked about provincial champions. We have a young lady who is a resident who is a provincial champion in running, Ed Morick's granddaughter.
Correct.
Right. So I think we need to recognize those people, and then we have lots of, hockey, lacrosse, soccer, people that do lots of great things. I think we should get back to recognizing them as a municipality I think it's a neat thing that we should do. So,
Very good. We'll put that challenge out there and see what we can do. That's it for announcements. Very good. Closed session. We have no closed session further on this agenda. So that brings us down to adjournment. I'm going to declare we're adjourned at 12:21.